As a quick little demonstration type deal, you can see it's about an hour and a half after I said I was going to go to sleep, but couldn't quite fall asleep. So this would be like the main page that you enter. The tab down below is main menu. On the fuel entries, it's not going to look anything like you would normally think as far as your format. But trust me, this is just, this is what the computer will see behind the scenes, and what you will see will look more like that form. So I'll have an option to generate reports as well. But if you go back and look at the picture, every single item that could be entered in the picture now has its own column. So we go through pretty much everything. The only thing that's in this sheet that is not on that form that I sent a picture of, is going to be Y, which is miles since last diesel, and Z, miles since last def. Now, just as an example, all these numbers are just more or less kind of threw it in, just typed whatever, just to get something kind of in there, sort of. As you can see, truck stop name's not going to be 1, 2, 3, but I was more or less using that to get the formatting. So like the gallons, price per gallon is going to have 3 digits. The subtotal is going to be 2 digits, because that's, or pennies. You're not going to have broken down pennies. And again, so the subtotals or totals are all going to have 2 cents. The miles per gallon, I was going to calculate out to 3 digits. I don't know. We can go further if you want. Total pump price again is going to be a 2-digit cash number. So the expected discount price per gallon, again, as you see, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you actually look, what I entered was 123.456.789, but the way it's formatting it is cutting off and rounding at 4 digits. So 4, 5, 6. The next one is 7, but the 8 rounds that up to 8. So that's why it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 4, 5, 6, 8. And again, fuel tax, I don't know what the states are, but I don't think they go down to 4 thousandths of a gallon, or thousandths of a dollar per gallon. So I just threw in 3 digits. Again, if we needed to only do 2 digits, like it's 0.40, then okay, it's still read as 40 cents. It just throws an extra 0 at the end. But you can see I just put in 0.4. So that's what the sheet's gonna look like. So again, the only other thing that's added on here, and again, I'm not using a formula for it. I just type it in, but I formatted it. You can see I typed in 123.456. It rounded .456 up to 0.5 because the odometer we can only get down to the tenths, so it'll always round it on the tenths. But again, I'm just typing in to make sure the format worked. And again, same thing with the miles since last def. Again, I'll use the code as we build more fuel entries into the thing. It'll go back and look at the odometer. Well, first it'll check like diesel. So if you went through in this next one, you didn't purchase any diesel, so let's say you did 2 entries where you just got a reefer, and then now you got a diesel entry. So on this, for the miles since, it'll, for this entry on line 5, it'll say, okay, well, this one's blank, this one's blank, this is our last diesel entry. What was the odometer on that last diesel entry compared to the line 5? Because line 3 and 4 was either def or reefer only, or a combination of just those 2, since we skipped them on the thingamabob. But anyway, where am I? Okay, so, and then finally I have a column just for matched with settlement. So this is going to be like a little check mark box where the computer is going to say, yes, it's matched, no, it's not. If it's not matched, it'll pull it into a list where you can kind of try to match them manually, and I'll set that up. But again, this is just how the data is going to be stored for each fuel entry. Gets a line. You can do easily 10,000 or more. Let's see. yeah, so come on, smoke's in my eyes. You can see it better than I can. Looks like 1,048,000. Yeah, 1,048,576 entries. So I doubt you're gonna do that in a year or a month. Maybe in 2 years. No, but yeah. So we have more than enough space. How did I get that control up? There we go. So we have more than enough space to put every single fuel entry in there all on one sheet. And again, it's not going to look pretty at all. It's going to be all these random things. You're going to have to scroll. Like I said, scrolling it way out here up into the AA section. You know, I'll add more if I need to out here further. But again, it's just going to store it. But it knows exactly if I need to reference, you know, the truck stop name, I can pull it up in E. Also, to help create some of the drop-down lists, created a sheet tab called Lists. So here's where I made the states. So the 2-digit code, the abbreviation, and the full-blown name, that type of deal, all the way down. Control down arrow. You know, it's Wyoming. Alabama, so they're all alphabetized, sorted, and everything. So that's why when on the drop-down menu, it'll appear in order. Now, this here, what I ended up doing is I'm gonna start. This is obviously, I don't know what the station code actually is, but you know, I knew I'd go to Flying J at Resaca, Georgia, I-75 exit 320. So this area here, and this, I'm just typing it in as it is just to kind of test to make sure the stuff works correctly, and then once I go through all and make sure everything works right, the next step after that, I'd obviously delete this, and then what it'll do is it'll see that's empty list. So when you go to put a fuel in, it'll check to see if that thing is in the list, and if it's not, add it, and if it is, hold on, I gotta put my cigarette out. Aren't you glad I wasted 5 seconds? No, if it's not in the list, it'll add it, and if it is in the list, then it'll pre-fill with the truck stop name, the city, the state, the highway, and everything else. So to kind of go back in to the main menu, the main screen that you'd pop in, all you'd have to do is click on a button. I can change this, I can make this a smiley face if you want, or we can make it a picture of Sparky, and I can show you how to do that too. But you click on a button and bam, it just loaded up. So I'll go ahead and close that out. So I did do a little bit of code, and I'll show some of that in my next video because this one's running 8 minutes. Where you click, pops up right there in the middle. Right now I haven't done anything for that, so I can click on this button all day, nothing happens, and I can click on this and it pops up with what we already got. Now again, in here, you know, I can click on this all day, I can click on this all day, I can click on this all day, and nothing happens because I haven't programmed it further than that yet. But what you can do is you're able to tab through, you know, and it'll go through in order. And again, if you have the proper station code in here, if it finds it in the list, it's going to pull up the trucking name, you know, or the truck stop name, the highway, the exit number, city and state, and pre-fill that in. So, you know, if you've already been to the station and you select it, you just hit continue, because it'll fill everything else out. But if you haven't been there, when you hit continue, it'll add to the list, as I mentioned before. So again, you know, your first time through, you can just kind of tab, type it in, you know. In this sequence, it goes station code. Let me go back. It goes station code, truck stop name, the city, the state, the highway, exit number, then whether or not you want to continue with the, you can see I'm like clicking with the space bar, continue button. Then down here we got the diesel. Also, what I was mentioning is before you fill out this top, part, it'll be bright blue. all this stuff here will be kind of faded where you can barely see it, but you can't interact with it until you actually click this button. And then we're down in here. So if I say I want diesel, you can highlight it like this, press the space bar. Now this will be editable, so you can put stuff in there if you need to. Likewise with def, press space bar or not press space bar, or press space bar twice. I think my truck's about to start up here in a second. Again, likewise with reefer. And then it goes into you could actually put in the info, like in here I can type in whatever I want, but it doesn't do anything, and it won't change. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll cycle through, and in here we got the diesel miles per gallon. Now what this will do, it'll run a formula in the background. Obviously I haven't programmed it to do anything, and that's why we had those extra columns, the extra columns, Y and Z for miles since last diesel, miles since last dev. And if you, let's say you didn't get diesel, then it's going to just put an NA in here. But if you did get diesel, it'll go back and say, okay, when's the last time you got diesel? What's the odometer on that? Okay, what's the odometer now? Let's subtract that out. Now that's your miles. And we'll take that number, put it in the column Y, which we saw, and then you take the miles divided by the number of gallons. There you get your miles per gallon. Likewise, we'll do the same thing with def. You're not going to get def every single time, but let's say you got def now and you got def like 5 or 6 rows up. It'll say, okay, here's the def now, here's the def the last time we got def, the odometer the last time we got the odometer now, subtract it. Okay, that's how many miles you went. How many gallons of def did you get, which is in here. Do the miles since the last def divided by the gallons of def you got this time, and now you got a way to calculate your def. And again, most people don't even do that. I got less than 3 minutes. Let's see what else we got. Total pump price is going to basically add up all the subtotals here. The expected discounted price, again, that'll use your 4/10 or 4 into the thousandths of dollar, 1,000th with a TH of dollars. And then the fuel tax, you can enter that in, and the expected settlement price is going to be the total between the two. Yeah, until I can get the exact math, I'm going to add these two together times the amount of diesel plus the subtotal, and that'll be your total. And again, if these are empty, then it'll just be the discounted price times the diesel, because it sounds like you're only getting a discount on the diesel and not on the reefer or def. Again, until I can actually go through and specifically see the math and work on the math again on your settlement sheets. But at least that way it'll get you an expected whatever. Obviously you can cancel, you can add another fuel receipt, or you can return to main menu. Right now I haven't programmed that button in yet, so I can click on here all day. My video is getting long, and I'll let you go. Good night.